Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you could be here today on time and enjoy this next part of the ACT formula. Today we're going to talk about communication. But before we get started, I just want to have everybody take a look at the rules of engagement that we created at the beginning, and just remind yourself of all that. And so we'll jump right in here. So communication, the last class we had some homework to do. So if you turn to page 26 and 27 in your book, we'll kind of go over that real quick. So the last one was a questionnaire. So after you filled that out on page 26, the results of that, if you scored a 15 to 35, you need to keep working on your communication skills. If you scored a 36 to 55, you are a compatible communicator, and if you scored a 56 to 75, you're an excellent communicator. So I'm sure everybody did that and did really well. So going into that, we're going to talk about communication, what it's made up of. So by a show of hands, can anybody tell me, can only pick one, so who thinks words are the most important part of communication, by a show of hands? Nobody thinks that's the most.
I think so.
You think that's the most important?
I think word selection, yeah.
All right, so we'll put a 2 there. Who thinks voice tone is? Nobody? And who thinks body language? So 4. All right, so the statistics here is words is going to be 7%, and the tone of voice is going to be 38%, and body language is going to be 55%. So body language is the majority of it, and I think we did pretty good there. So the purpose today is to identify the importance of good verbal and non-verbal communication as it relates to accountability, trust, and productivity. The importance, can I get a volunteer to read importance for me?
I'll read it.
Go ahead.
Communication in the workplace can make the difference between success and failure. How we interact with others, the way we move, listen, look, and react tells the other person whether you care or not, and how well you are listening. Research shows the majority of our communication is nonverbal, and it can support or hinder teamwork, respect, efficiency.
Thank you. How does that make you feel? Anybody? How does that make you feel? How we communicate?
I think a lot of people don't realize that body language is so important. Because you can say all of the right things and have the right tone, but if your body language shows something different, it is noticeable to the other person or people.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything to share?
Yeah, I mean, you see it every day on the highway, you know? If you're not going fast enough, people, you see the guy look in his rearview mirror and you're like, you know? Or if you cut him off, they're like, so.
All right, so anybody else? Anyone? Thank you for that. All right, so we know what it takes to communicate effectively. So we're going to do a little exercise, and I'm going to need some volunteers. So I'm going to need 4 people to volunteer for me. I'm going to have some volunteers. Okay, so we're going to have you be the director. And I'm going to need another volunteer. Okay, you're going to be the runner. Ernie looks like a builder. So I think Ernie's going to be the builder.
I'll be the builder, no problem.
And I will actually keep time. And then we need 2 observers. So what the observers are going to do is watch the runner and the builder. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take 5 minutes, and the director is going to see a pre-built Lego out there, and the runner is going to ask direction from no, the director, I'm sorry, is gonna tell the runner what the builder should build, but the runner can't ask questions and the builder can't ask questions, they can only listen. Okay, and we have 5 minutes to do that. So, these are gonna be, and now, the runner can't see either thing that's built. So the runner can only talk and cannot see anything that's already built. So you're gonna be the builder, and
Okay.
you're gonna have to flip this up and build it behind there so the runner can't see what you're building there.
Okay.
Interesting one.
So, now the runner cannot see anything that's built.
Okay.
So,
Is there any, is there like a plan on what it needs to be built like, or just a random build?
Wow, that's-
Random.
Random.
and you don't want the builder to hear what you're telling them.
So it's kind of like whisper on the alley type style, right?
But you
Sort
can't,
of
you
ish.
can't ask any questions, and he can't ask you any questions, only,
I can only repeat. I'm only repeating.
right.
Okay.
Alright, so we can go ahead and start, and I got the time, so
Okay.
you're gonna,
I can.
you can turn around.
Okay.
So I'm building, right?
You're building.
I already built.
Take the big blue Lego and the big orange Lego and put them back to back.
3 minutes, right?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay. Okay. They should be back to back. They shouldn't be on top of each other. Use the blue square, put in the middle.
Blue square in the middle? I'm not allowed to say question.
Correct.
Little black goes on the front left corner of the red Lego.
That's not what you said.
Yeah.
Brown Lego goes on the last 2 notches. Oh, the color of the blue Lego. Runner failed. She's done. She's complete.
So, you should have something really nice built there.
It looks kinda like this.
Bring that in here, let's see what they look like here. See how good they look.
By looking at that face, it looks nothing like this.
So we got this here.
I didn't know we got the red block.
That looks pretty good.
You got pretty close.
I didn't, so this would hold them together.
That was close. So that's what we got when we got.
That's why I don't build houses.
So what went well with that?
You got volunteers right away.
I would
That's
say
communication.
there was some communication, but it was one-way communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of skip that one and say what didn't work, because I think that's more of the challenge is what didn't work.
The not asking questions to clarify, because you would say the color and come back in and be like, oh, what color was that again? So not being able to ask a question back and kind of make sure I was on the same page definitely didn't work so well.
Well, to step back, what did work well is looking at their faces, you could tell that it wasn't gonna match up by their body language. So exercise before, but what didn't work though was not being able to ask questions, obviously. You know, was not able to, the clarification.
Well, the other thing for me was, when you said back to back, okay, so I'm thinking Legos, this is an assumption, this kind of ties
Right.
into what I said. My assumption is, why would you put them back to back? Everything's gotta connect. So I'm thinking she's gotta build something that's gotta connect to each one,
That's why
right?
she came back.
So when
and
she
I
said
thought
back to
about
back, I'm like, alright, well then that means they're not connected. I got
that.
that.
Yes, that's right.
But then, but my assumption was, at first I stacked them. But I'm like, no, back to back means they're not stacked, they're not connected. And I think she said something, alluded to that. But what I'm curious is on the red, the connected to, I missed that, the red.
You guys take the red
Because
one
I don't
and
remember
connect it to the other.
I don't remember hearing you say red.
She
But
did.
again, she did?
Uh-huh.
That's what I mean, isn't that weird? I think I was so caught up on the back to back. I mean, honestly, because then I'm like, what the hell is this? So I don't know where that falls into that, but that was interesting.
Well,
So-
assumptions, I think that would fall into, like, you make assumptions about what's supposed to happen, so sometimes you don't actually hear, especially when you can't ask questions to clarify.
Well, and the other thing is the assumption is I'm already trying to guess what she's gonna build. All right, so I'm not really listening probably as good as I should have because I'm already trying to think what's she creating out there.
Oh, no, I didn't create it.
Oh, you did?
No,
Oh, you did.
that's
So-
the architect.
So, how do you think this would affect you in the workplace or outside of work? Marriage, with kids, anything like that? If you're only hearing one side of the story or telling one side of the story, how do you think that would affect internal and external, work and out of work? How would that look?
Mass confusion.
Yeah, total confusion.
You would try, you would want something to be accomplished and yet your child or your coworker would just try to process it internally and figure out what they think it means and do that, and it may be completely off from what you wanted.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think it goes back to where, because it's a communication module, you're not directly, there's not good two-way communication, there's one-way communication, things get lost in translation. It's almost when you bring an employee in and then the boss says, I think you know why you're here. As if you've already heard it through the grapevine from other people. And that's how you don't have that clarity on really what the expectation is, because there's never been that conversation.
Anyone else? Brian? Anything to add to that?
No, I apologize, no. That's not.
Anyone else have anything to add? All right. So how can we improve the process? How can we improve what just happened to make it a better process?
Let Tiffany and Annie ask questions.
Yeah, let the questions be asked, clarifications be made, and input together maybe, like, in real situation.
So you think it would be better if you communicate back and forth with each other?
Right, even if it was just a runner with the ability for him to ask and then me to ask her and kind of clarify, so we knew the colors were right and we knew, wait, this is supposed to be here, and just get some actual clear direction.
Okay. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the next question. How important is it to give clear direction? Pretty important, right? Everybody would agree with that? Anyone have anything to add to that? So, time and pressure, well, we went ahead of time, so I think we got it solved pretty quickly, but maybe it wasn't so accurate. So if time was an issue, though, that would probably affect how it gets built and how it comes out. Anybody have anything to add to that?
If there was more pieces too, time would be way more of a factor, or if they had to go further distance, so.
Yeah.
So you
So,
can almost just stand there and yell to them, like you almost don't have to go anywhere.
But the time pressure could definitely, it could be a factor where you already have the problem with the bad communication where you're not able to ask questions or get any sort of clarification. So you don't fully understand what you're doing. And then I know personally, if I'm in a hurry to get something done, I'm probably not gonna do it to the best of my ability because it's just a matter of reaching that finish line and getting it done. It doesn't matter how it gets done, just get it done.
I think if Ernie was judged on his results, that pressure would be even greater with him trying to understand exactly what's being said to him in order to build the Lego.
Right, and with the time pressure, you don't hear necessarily everything. You're missing some of the steps because you're already focused on, oh my God, I gotta get this done here. So you're missing what's in the middle, and then ultimately it's not going to come out right anyway. But
I think it's when the assumptions come in too, because you're like, oh, well, she's gonna do this, or they're gonna do this, or this is what they're gonna want, so I'm just gonna get started really quick, because I know where they're going anyway, so I'm just gonna kind of really get started. and you could be completely starting in the wrong direction, so then it's like, oh, let me try to scrap this and do it again, and then there's the confusion of kind of trying to figure it all out.
So, we all pretty much agree that more communication would make it a little easier.
Yes.
So then we're gonna do it again with more communication. So we'll be able to talk a little more this time. So let me go build this again, and I'll be back in just a minute.
See, wait. Oh, do it!
You gotta shut the door.
That's all.
Working with a new system, kind of, I can relate to that. Like, okay, we need to get this done, so I'm going to do this, and then I have Mark over in the other office going, I think you should wait, I think you should ask, you should ask. I'm like, I don't have time to ask. And then how did that work out? I had to have them back everything else, so.
And sometimes it works, and I think that's where it's like, wow. Yeah, we're scared.
Roll the dice. It's a scary time. But you never know.
You must be
when
building a
you
castle.
Right, so it's.
Yeah, family.
Well, that's all, often the things, I will say that I used to like, let me just try to see if I can figure this out, because I should probably be able to figure this out. So I spent forever trying to figure it out. It would be so much easier than just calling them. And then I get to the point
It's
where
supposed to be
I'm
easy
like,
next week.
Yeah, so you have to call them.
and I'm like,
What's that?
okay,
Supposed to be
well, this was
easy
the
next
original
week.
problem, and then I tried to fix it. And
So
now we have this
follow?
problem and this
What's that?
problem.
Still follow us
It's
out?
I
okay,
don't know.
let's fix it, and then they charge us anyway,
So
so
what
instead
this
like,
morning,
already
they're all
doing
saying-
it, they charge us anyway, I made more money, so I decided, like, you know what,
I'm just gonna make.
I'm gonna call it in, I'm gonna call it now, yeah, it's easier.
It's easier. Agreed.
So if we can get some different volunteers this time, maybe have a different builder and
I'll be the builder.
Okay. So, Brian, could you be the director?
Sure.
And
I'll run.
could be the
I'll
runner?
be the runner. Try.
Oh, jeez.
Twice as many pieces.
Yeah.
All right, so
Take the whole bucket.
I'm gonna go out.
Contract is on now. Still the same scenario, I can't see the
Okay, so
product.
you can ask questions and he can tell you, but you can't see anything.
Can't see,
And he can ask questions and you can tell him,
but I can't.
but you can't see either of them.
Either, okay, great.
So,
Okay.
in 5 minutes still.
Okay, so I'll stand right here.
And it's blocked, so you can.
Just so you know, if I get this, I want a sticker.
Only Bonnie can hand out stickers, I think.
Hey, so you're supposed to know it, you put a star on it.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Thanks for saving me, Bonnie, with the stickers.
I'm glad I'm not the writer, 'cause my recollection was very short.
So what was the first color again?
Alrighty,
And I can ask her questions?
Correct.
so you wanna take your orange piece,
Mm-hmm.
6-piece, your blue 6-piece,
Okay,
put them back to back, not connected.
okay.
Then you wanna take your white 4-piece and your red 4-piece, stack them on top of each other, and put them in the middle.
Okay.
Good?
Okay, yep.
Okay.
We have a limited like each of us, like chips in a purse,
Okay.
so you use them in it and then they just pull out.
some skin in the game. I get this, I get a sticker, so I'm all about getting this done.
I'm noticing that
Getting this
Jessica
done.
has quite a deal type of stickers on her book. I mean, I'm just not pointing that out or anything.
Do I have
but-
stickers on the book? I do, don't I?
Yeah, look at
You have one.
this.
I have 3.
Okay.
Okay, now you take your green piece and put it on the end of the blue piece. And,
There's 2
The
sheets of
far-
green.
oh, oh. Should I go last?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 sheets of green.
And one more question. When you say the end, do you mean
The far end,
the far end? So one notch is shown.
where it takes up 2 of the notches on the end,
Takes up 2 of the notches. Okay.
on the end. Since it's the green piece with the 2.
Okay.
Do
Well
they
then that's
both
fine.
have-
No need to ask another question.
Okay,
Okay. Go ahead.
and then the black piece, the singular piece, goes on the back side of the green piece.
When you say backside, there's 2 notches. There's the front and the back. Is it the one? So if it's the 2 notches on, which is the front or the back?
If it's on the end, it would be the right side.
Okay. Go ahead.
So 2 more minutes.
I know. Here's our compliment, but let's go back, because we feel like we could have been better if we knew there were stickers involved. But we didn't know that. We did not have all the information communicated. to
That was a
us.
different time. You should have got it in writing.
Well, we weren't being taught communication until now.
We need a participation trophy, because like we were really close. And those are now the new thing. We did.
Well, everybody gets a trophy. That's the problem with the world. Everyone gets a trophy. Valued contributor.
Okay, you don't make us sad, do you? We feel shame.
Valued contributor. Times of the essence.
Gotcha, okay. Okay, you wanna take your yellow piece, your yellow 3 piece, and put it on the front side of your orange piece, but only 2 spaces. 1 space is going to hang off the side,
Okay.
and then your brown piece will go behind the yellow piece and will fit flush.
And that's about time then.
So,
So go ahead,
That's it.
finish that.
I believe that's it, right?
no. I have 2 more pieces.
Oh dear. No sticker.
I've been bamboozled.
I'm just a winner. We're sharing the sticker.
All right, so this is what we got. Let's see what you got there. That's pretty close though.
And I would have gotten it had I.
Yes, I think that's pretty close.
That is pretty close.
Uh-huh.
Can I say one more
One more step, we would have had.
One more step.
Here's you.
What did we miss? The little green, the light green?
Yeah.
The light green and the brown on top there, and then the black was just reversed, but that's pretty close. So we can see how communication definitely made a big difference when we had 2-way communication there. So let's talk about what went well that time.
They were able to ask questions, so they were able to make sense of what they were being told to do.
Get clarification. There was a question, so they were like able to say where is it supposed to be, which angle, which one, and it made it more clear.
I think the pieces were defined more by 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 pieces, because when we came upon the 2 different color greens,
Oh, yes.
and once you mentioned there was 2, then there's only 1 green that has 2. So that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely the questions, being able to ask both sides is good.
Anyone else? They were all good answers. What didn't work?
I think the fact that Shannon couldn't see what the end result was supposed to be, if she knew what it looked like, she would have been able to better explain to Scott what to do and what colors, and same thing, if Scott knew what it was supposed to look like, he could fold it.
It also, like, because of being able to ask questions and the exchanges that were happening, time actually this time was, there was less. Time was more of a pressure. We obviously didn't even get it completed. It would have been almost correct, but because of the clarification that could happen, it took more time. Just
Right,
to
so
communicate.
more timing, but a little bit better result.
Yeah.
So do you think that if you weren't given clear direction with a lot more time, you may not be right when you're doing a task in your job? Could that happen if you have a lot of time but you're not getting clear direction? Do you think that would be
A big waste of time.
Yeah.
a waste of time?
Still bad results. Just taking a lot more time to get to that.
Yeah.
Good point.
So improving the process, how would we improve the process?
The ability to actually see, so it would be open communication, so he could see, or even if Scott wasn't able to see, then
Or
Sharon
even if she could see both
Yes,
ones.
that Sharon
Right,
could see
then I would be
both.
able to,
Or maybe you have a little bit more, have things defined, because when I'm asking the front or the back, what he might think is the back might be my front.
And that's exactly the problem we ran into out there.
yeah,
I was saying it a
trying to
certain way.
visualize it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to say it to her, and I was saying it one way, and I was like, wait, that's not gonna work, we have to try this from a different way, because she's never gonna be able to explain this.
Anything else anyone has to add to that? Alright, so I think we see how it's important to give clear direction, because the one-way communication is definitely a lot harder than being able to talk both ways. So how does the time pressure and poor communication affect the accountability and trust? Anyone want to share on that?
I think sometimes when you're in a pressure for time, you decide just to do it yourself, instead of taking the time to communicate it and have them do it, so just be like, I just have to get this done, so I don't have time to explain it to you, I'm just gonna do it. And so then, instead of the person who should have the accountability, you're kind of taking it on yourself and taking it away from them.
Right, yeah, good point. You're robbing them from the opportunity to be accountable, and then thereby you lose their trust in you because they don't think you have trust in them.
Alright, so we'll move on with some of our supplemental reading. So if we can, it's the next page there. So if we can maybe go around the room. Scott, if you could start for us.
Active listening skills allows a person to ask for or provide more information to test or summarize your understandings. Clarified tools, a type of activity listening skill, includes asking open-ended questions, prompting rephrasing, making empathy statements, and the use of good body language.
Thank you.
Attending, paying attention, not letting your mind wander, avoiding the temptation to rehearse what to say next, taking notes. Ask yourself, how would I summarize what is being said?
Open-ended questions encourages the speaker to give more information than a yes or no answer. More information increases understanding of the issue and decreases the listener's biases. What can we do to improve? What else can we do? What do you see as the real problem? How can we implement that suggestion?
Clarifying questions, provide more detail for better understanding. Can you share more about what you're thinking? What should I write down as our solution? Joan, is Miguel's comment an example of what you were saying earlier? Can you be more specific?
Prompting includes any short phrase that tells the speaker to continue and that you are listening. Tell me more about that. Go on.
Rephrasing, saying back to the speaker what we think we heard them say, may involve reading between the lines to interpret the full meaning of the speaker's words, then checking our interpretation. What I hear you saying is, in other words, it sounds like you're saying.
I'll read this next one. Using empathy, showing we understand or at least imagine how the speaker feels, even if we don't feel the same way. I can see how you feel. In that situation, I know I would feel. It must feel.
Body language, simple gestures and physical movements that show you are listening and interested in what other persons are saying. Eye contact, leaning forward, nodding your head, positive facial expressions facing speaker using signs.
We got you responding, right?
Yep.
Includes agreeing or differing with the statement in a rational, constructive manner. This helps show that you are agreeing or disagreeing with the statement, not the person.
Agreeing, I support Bill's suggestion because I agree with Pat's idea.
Differing, I think, I have a different opinion, and let me tell you why. I think you might be able to look at that another way. Something that concerns me about that is, let me share another view with you.
Initiating, being able to make suggestions and offer opinions. What would you think about, have you thought about, I'd like to suggest that how does everyone feel about that? We've made some good progress in the areas of what we need to work on next is.
Bringing in a way to include quiet members in discussion. Jan, I see you nodding your head. What do you think? Brianna, you started to say something about next month's schedule. Could you elaborate? Xavier, how does what we are saying now affect what you were saying earlier?
Using,
Go ahead. Okay.
using I statements puts the emphasis on your feelings of the situation instead of the other person's wrongdoing and decreases defensiveness. I feel frustrated when you don't follow through on an assignment.
So talking about all that stuff, the active listening skills, how do you all feel after we did that activity, the active listening skills? How do you feel about that? How do they relate to active listening, the activity we did?
Most like all of the above. You could tell if the person that you're saying something to didn't understand, comprehend, or think it was a thorough explanation by their body language. You can use empathy to try to put yourself into their shoes. Like if they can't see this object, if I tell them this, would they be able to create that? They can ask clarifying questions. Most of these were highlighted in that brief exercise.
Anyone else have anything to share on that? All right, so for homework, we're going to do a communication observation. So throughout the next week, we're going to watch around our fellow employees and look around our workplace environment and see if we see anything, clarity of instruction, direction, and ask the clarifying questions and use the active listening skills that we talked about today, looking at the body language, the tone of voice, and if there's any frustrations or patience that people are using to clarify what they need done. So that's what the homework assignment is for next week. But before we leave here today, if we could say what we are going to take away from this, we go around the room and Scott, you want to go?
Yeah, I think without good two-way communication, defining what the expectations are and understanding each other's perspectives, you can't really get the desired result.
I think the biggest thing for me is too, one of the things that said earlier in this lesson is about your mind wandering, it was wondering again in that example, in that first step part of the exercise was doing that, my mind was wandering not unless they're listening to specific instructions from Tiffany, so that certainly affects it, communication.
I think that the exercise was good to see because it does show, again, when we're in a hurry and you're just telling people what to do, that it kind of points out that they may not be hearing everything you're trying to tell them, or you're not necessarily explaining it the way that you want it done correctly. So it's important to have that back and forth and to allow the other person the chance to get clarification and ask questions.
I agree. I think that the two-way questions and clarification is something that was pointed out and was pretty awesome to see. The body language thing to me, for some reason, I never thought that much. I mean, I obviously knew if your back was turned to someone while you're talking to them, or pretty blunt ones, but I didn't know that it was such a huge part of things.
The fact that we make so many assumptions of what somebody's going to say or what their intent is, and thinking ahead of what they're saying at the same time instead of listening to what they're having to say. Doing so and taking the time and just listening would truly
still think words are very important when you're speaking to somebody or trying to communicate. It is, you know, it does hold true. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, and things like that. So it's interesting.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, and I appreciate your time.
Luke, how do you think you did?
I think I did okay. I wish I would have maybe wrote a little more on the flip chart instead of letting it blank and maybe as people answered, wrote some of the stuff down. I was a little nervous, so maybe have more of a natural stance, maybe something like that.
Did anybody feel he was nervous?
No, not at all.
Interesting the way that winds up being inside, not outside. Alright, Jessica, you start?
I thought you did a really good job. I mean, you couldn't tell that you were nervous. I mean, you were definitely very well prepared and had practiced a lot, I think, before you presented. I mean, you were very clear with the exercise and comfortable going through it. I didn't really see you looking at the book all that much more than to actually read from it, which was pretty good. I didn't even think anything of the fact that you weren't writing our answers up there, and then you had the questions to highlight the questions to get our input from them. I thought you did a really good job.
Thank you.
Ready?
Yeah, I mean, I gave you, you know, I thought, you know, you understood the material. I thought you presented the information in an easy manner, the way to follow it for us. I mean, the exercise I think was good. Certainly pointed out what the lesson, what the purpose of the lesson. And again, you did try to tie some personal and work into that. So I thought you did a good job.
Thank you.
I've seen a lot of, in over 30 years, I thought he did this before. That's how well I thought he did for the first time, honestly.
Thank you.
You know, so I gave him excellent.
Yeah, great job, Luke. Absolutely. If you wanted to nitpick about you clearly had the poster board prepared, could have wrote the answers down on them or abbreviated them. The two sets, like the before and the after, maybe in like a different color or something like that, that could have been kind of neat. Maybe they're used to that, but other than that, everything was ready. Maybe two sets of Legos to have them prepared to. Could have asked to use a different set or something, but that's to really nitpick. Other than that, it was very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. You didn't come across as nervous to me. You seemed very well prepared and knew the material and you felt the material. You could tell that it was something that was important to you, and you kept the rest of us engaged and had a good buy-in. So we wanted to hear what you had to say, and we're happy to participate. I know I was. So great job.
Thank you.
I agree with everybody else. I think you did an excellent job. I don't think you seemed calm at all. You didn't rush it like everyone else had a tendency to do, at least myself tended to do. You would wait and pause, which was a natural pause, like you'd kind of look around, where I think that most people, at least myself, when I was up there, if nobody answered in a couple seconds, you wanted to push through because it was kind of this awkward silence, and then you had to keep moving. But you did really well, so I think you did great and knew the material.
Thank you.
Good. I gave you a lot of 2s and 3s, mostly 3s. Could spend a little more time talking about the assignment, just drill down a little bit so that, you know, if you had enough time, you could start doing the assignment a little bit, but, you know, just take a little deeper dive on it so people know why the importance of it, so that they feel more of the need to want to do it. Interject more questions, a little bit more connection between work and person. You did connect on it, but I would say do a little bit more. You you know, there's a couple of opportunities when you are doing the comparison of the two Lego setups, there's an opportunity, you know, once you go from that point to starting to ask the questions. So how did it play in? You can take again a deeper dive on when do we see those kind of challenges here at work? When do we see those kind of challenges at home or in our personal lives? So it's okay to ask more questions at that point. I said you seem to feel pretty comfortable. It looked like you were very comfortable, but at the same time, there's that sandwich, right? Loosen up a little bit. So you were what do they call that when you're like back and forth? You know,
Swaying.
yeah, you're kind of doing this a little bit. I was waiting for the music. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, you did a little bit of this, and that's a little bit of rocking. That's okay. It's okay to walk in to the group and talk to people and move away from the board a little bit.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen the first time you do this, but the things to look forward to. But I thought you were very well prepared.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ernie, do you want to take a break and do yours, or you want to go right into it?
No, I mean, I can jump in.